When you were traveling to Russia during the Cold War,
Yep.
what was that like being there?
Well, it's interesting because this was in 1966, the middle of the Cold War, but I found that you could get a busload of school kids or young adults were allowed to go to Russia. And I managed to get on a bus. It was called the Trafalgar Tours. It was from London to London, didn't cost that much money. And so we went across the non-Soviet states, which was in those days Sweden, then into Finland, and then we crossed into the Soviet Union. And we weren't allowed to take photos of things, but we actually ended up in Moscow on May Day in 1966, and these huge procession of military were being paraded past. And I didn't realise that the rockets, I only found out later, had intercontinental ballistic missiles and nuclear warheads, and they were just all going past us.
Were they the very things that they were threatening the world with?
They were the very things they were threatening the world, and there was the Cold War, and everyone was scared, were we going to have nuclear weapons sent to us? And only the year before, when I was at home in Sydney, I'd walked down to the backyard and looked south towards the city and imagined a red flame coming towards us, because many of us were quite scared there was going to be a nuclear war and Sydney would be a target and we'd have this red flame that would just incinerate everything. The interesting thing was, on this trip I did in May 1966 into Russia, all the people were friendly, incredibly friendly. And I suddenly realised it's governments and politicians that cause wars. It's not just typical people. And so it was wonderful. Russia was quite poor in those days, but to go through Russia then and went into Poland and East Germany, which was all part of the Soviet Union. And I came through the Berlin Wall, which doesn't exist now, but did exist. And I came from the Russian side into the West, and that was quite exciting. But in this bus tour of being able to see behind the Iron Curtain, where you had to be very careful what you did.